So for many collectors, having a book like this is probably, one of the holy grail items. It's Cook's Voyages, and I believe that this atlas is from the 1780s, and this would be the sort of first glimpse of worlds that were unexplored at the time. So Cook was the first to circumnavigate New Zealand, the east coast of Australia, and Hawaii. And so this would have been the absolute first time that anyone in Europe would have seen what Hawaii looked like, their sort of dress habits, and the kinds of things. And the descriptions were very detailed in how they behaved. So to have a book like this at the time, obviously they were very, very expensive. So you'd have to be literate, and you'd have to have some means. But this was something that was indulged in, and Cook and his fellow, the botanist and that sort of thing that went along became heroes, because really they were the explorers. If you can imagine how we're interested in sort of discovering what's out in the universe, really, the globe was an undiscovered entity, and to have something like this, to see these descriptions and illustrations was out of the world at the time. So one of the fun stories about this atlas and his works is that the very first description of surfing was described in his book, in which case a famous story is that they saw a man on sort of on the horizon on the water, and they couldn't figure out why was he standing on the water, how was he doing this, and that is the first instance or first description of someone surfing. Throughout the centuries, one of the roles of the bookbinder was to come up with ways of ornamenting the book to encourage prospective buyers to buy their books. And so every inch was ornamented, decorated. And so in this case, you find the spine is decorated, a contrasting label, block design, and the marble paper, which is very common, sort of from the 1770, well, even earlier than that, 1650s onwards. But they thought, well, what can we do to a book to make it even more interesting, more appealing? So they came up with the idea in the 18th century, late 18th century, to create four-edge paintings. And so they would press the book in this position and have a watercolor artist come by and create a scene. And then it would just hide away as soon as you close the book.